Welcome back to the No Flop Zone. You're taking time out with me, Boti Nagy, and of course, Joey Wright, and we're talking about the big event of the week, the biggest event maybe of all time in terms of in NBL clearance coups.
I think it might be biggest of all time. I mean, obviously, Bracky leaving the 36ers and going to Melbourne Tigers, but I think at that time, Bracky was still new, wasn't he? A couple of years.
He wasn't the Bracky that he became.
Yeah. Like Bryce was already a star.
Yes, five-time MVP.
Five-time MVP, and for him to leave the place where he got those 5 MVPs, that is pretty cool.
It's very interesting that you should mention Bracky, because I was trying to rack my brain as to is there anything comparable to this? I go back to when Leroy Loggins left Brisbane to join West Adelaide in the early 80s. But then he wasn't quite Leroy yet.
Okay.
So when he left West Adelaide after winning the championship here and taking them in the championship series 2 years in a row and went to Brisbane, that was a huge coup for them. And the only other one I can think of is Robert Rose won a championship with South East Melbourne Magic, and then also won the MVP and came to the 36ers. So it's kind of, all of them involved the 36ers in one way. Either people are going or people coming. But
Darnell would have been a big one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Darnell was huge, but he was available, so that wasn't a shock. Whereas this is, I think that when I got wind of this, I was in shock. He could have blown me over with a feather. I thought Bryce would never play for another NBL club other than Perth.
Yeah, I agree. I never thought he'd play for anybody else.
So what's your take? What you've heard?
We'll start with why we think he left or whatever.
Okay.
And I don't think this was on Bryce based on the people that talked to me about it. All speculation. I have not spoken to Bryce about this, but I heard that Perth dropped the ball, and nothing to do with JR, which is what a lot of people thought. I think they had their normal coach-player relationship. You know, some days it was tougher, but nothing excessive at all whatsoever. But this looked more like an administrative drop where they just didn't get the job done at the office level.
They missed 2 contract deadlines with him, right? And then he basically wanted to test free agency. I've seen him speaking on a podcast saying that he just wanted to test the waters. You know, he's never been in this situation where he could, so he just wanted to do that. I mean, Perth have always signed him to multi-year contracts, and he's coming off the best season of his 9, the best individual season.
Yeah.
So why not test the waters? Perth kind of just then decided, we're not waiting for you, and made an announcement that he wouldn't be back. He saw that announcement that he wouldn't be back.
Well, there you go. I mean, they dropped the ball. They put out an announcement that he wouldn't be back before he'd actually decided to do something. Then they're playing negotiating games.
Okay, now because they did drop the ball, what does this mean for Perth? Like, what do they have to do to sort of make their fan base, the Red Army, a little bit happier than what they would be today?
Patty Mills.
I've got it 100% that is not happening.
But I agree. I mean, that may or may not happen, but that's probably the only thing that can shut them up.
Yep.
If you bring someone of his magnitude back to Perth, Joe Ingles, Patty Mills. I mean, you got to bring somebody back enormous to get that Red Army to be quiet, because Blue Army.
Oh, they're going to make a lot of noise.
The Blue Army's going to make a lot of noise.
26. Well, the thing about Patty is I've got it on really good authority, and remember. I did write a book about him not that long ago. Still available in all reputable bookstores and a few shonky ones. I've got it on really good authority. He will not be in the NBL. This is just the usual kind of NBL generated bullshit. Yeah. But that he will not be there. So, yeah, you're talking someone of that caliber.
Oh, and winning. Winning helps everything. And they'll have an opportunity to put a great team on the court, as they always do. But, winning will shut everything up, because Bryce coming here doesn't necessarily guarantee wins. I mean, it guarantees your ability to recruit great players, because people are going to want to play with Bryce. Yeah. Great opportunity to win because you are bringing great players here, but there's no guarantees just because you signed Bryce. If you look at last year, he had some really talented players around him, and they still finished 4th.
Yep.
I don't know if he'll have that same talent base around him here in Adelaide, so he'll have some work to do. But with him and DJ there, it's a good 2-headed monster to have.
And you've got Flynn Cameron as well, who is ready for a breakout.
Yeah. And I think he's going to be the one that surprises everybody, because there's going to be a lot of defense focus at DJ, and a lot of defense focus at Bryce. Yeah. And Flynn is an up-and-coming star and probably the best in his age group in the whole league.
So that's what it means for Adelaide. It's going to be hugely impactful, because he's going to affect the culture. Bryce will affect the culture.
Yeah.
In 100% positive way.
Well, I think it's going to bring rubber to the road is what's going to happen, because right now bringing Bryce in, who's the ultimate culture guy, is going to force a lot of people who had poor culture out of the system, or he's going to be just big enough to win and cover it up. But either way, it's going to look better.
Right. And of course, he has some history with the coach, Mike Wells. From what I can gather from looking at the interview I saw with Bryce, and also from Mark Arena, the Wildcats owner, who was sort of backpedaling about, well, why not, you know, having to sort of try and justify the craziest decision that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it's still by far the biggest move within the NBL that I can remember, and I've been there since day one. I can't think of a bigger one.
Well, I love to equate this to the Luka leaving Dallas and heading to LA. That's the equivalent in my mind of him coming here. You got two rival teams in Dallas and LA who've, you know, been at each other's throat the last couple of years, and then all of a sudden Luka ends up in that place. Now you got Bryce here in LA. Just makes those games really, really, really exciting next year.
What else? That's actually really good. I like that. What else? Because that was a shock when that happened. I was like, again, like this. But now, what else does Adelaide have to do to make themselves a contender? That they've put themselves into the playoff picture, but for the championship, what other pieces do they need?
I think they got to go with an explosive defensive guard, someone that can defend the ball on the perimeter and mix things up. I think they need someone like Taj McCall, a guy that can mix it up a little bit, play some defense, cause a lot of trouble, make a lot of big noise, and leaving Bryce and DJ alone on those wings, and bring in a power forward that can shoot the ball, that can, you know, mobile, that can handle a Jack McVay type.
Have you heard any names? Because I've heard the name of Jarrell Brantley, who played for the New Zealand Breakers a little while ago and does also have a connection with Mike Wells, going back to the Utah Jazz. I've just heard the name. And I've also
Keanu Pinder, I heard, which is, you know, just once again just a name someone's thrown out there. It was someone close to the organization that thought I knew that they had signed Keanu. So I was like, no, I didn't.
Oops.
But so, you know, I don't know. But, you know, I think they have a great ability to attract talent now. I haven't heard Montrezl Harrell. Who knows?
Now, we've got it from a reader's question too, which I'll bring in now. Does he suit this group now?
I think he suits any group that's willing to stand on top of or stick to a culture. Like Montrezl just came in and did what he was allowed to do, which is what high ego-driven players do. They do what they're allowed to do. But that guy's a professional, and he's a professional. Like, he knows how to play basketball at a high level. He's a professional. He's going to get stuff done. Yeah, he's going to run his mouth. But I never subscribe to the fact that because they're easier to coach, I want them, or they're hard to coach, I don't want them. Sometimes they're hard to coach, but you still want them.
Well, yeah.
I don't think he would be an easy guy to coach, but, man, I'd want him on my team.
Yeah. So I kind of liken him to Julius Hodge, that played first time, and then the second time it wasn't so good because he'd already had a particular way he wanted to go about things, like what's going to make him come in and be different. What, because Bryce is in the team, Flynn's in the team, two new faces. What's going to make him be different? The chance to win a championship, or
well, I think Bryce. Every team I've ever been on as a player or a coach, if the best player on the team had high character and was a hard worker, then the rest of the team had high character and was a hard worker. I don't think it's any other way this can go. I don't think you can bring in another star anywhere else and with a bad culture and that with a bad attitude and that exists in, you know, around Bryce. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. For the 36ers point of view, this was all about timing. The timing was perfect.
Perfect.
It just rang him at the right time, or got in touch with him at the right time. So Matt Weston goes from being the guy that sacked Scott Dennis in a ridiculous decision, the guy that goes to China to try and bring back Kendrick Davis at all costs.
But he also signed Kendrick Davis. So he signed Kendrick Davis. You got to give him credit for bringing in Montrezl Harrell, Kendrick Davis.
Do I?
Yes.
I have to give him credit for that.
Well, somebody does. Somebody does. And bringing in Bryce Cotton. Yeah. He's GM of the century. No question about it.
If you're watching the show, you are
GM of the century.
He's not even GM. He's GM of basketball.
Wherever he is. I don't know. Just something wrong.
Crazy title. Yeah, but I mean, the timing was good. I've got to give him that he was persistent, that he thought, why not? And that attitude of, well, what's the worst that can happen? They say no. That's the worst that can happen. So you already don't have them. So if they say no, they say no. So you just keep persisting. Timing was perfect. Bryce, I think in Puerto Rico, I was talking to some of my contacts in Perth, didn't have the greatest of time in Puerto Rico. And the idea of staying in Australia suddenly lifted in appeal. And then phone rings at the right time, bang. This is fantastic.
Well, they would have had, if it's a such thing as cap space, if it's a such thing.
Wait, you already described someone as the GM of the century. They don't need cap space.
I think he's done well.
Okay, what about now the Cattalini Cup, the annual, for which the Paul Rogers, or Martin Cattalini is named after him. Paul Rogers is the MVP award for that one game they play in every season. That takes on a whole new meaning. Shouldn't we have some Cotton aspect to it as well now?
Yeah, the Cotton Cattalini Cup. That would be awesome with them still playing too. It'll be. I know. I said this immediately when this happened. I was talking to my neighbor Dan, who loves his basketball. He didn't think Perth fans would turn. I think they're going to hugely turn.
Do you?
Yes.
I'm shocked because I'm still reeling from the disgraceful performance by the West Australian newspaper to have a full page, back page of Bryce's head, calling him the lying king. This is a guy that's given them 9 years, given them the best basketball they've had in that whole club's history. I mean, we can go back to how good Ricky Grace was and Andrew Varl, all those guys. But what he's brought to them in that last decade is enormous. And MVP awards and scoring titles and championships. To do that because he's leaving and the club didn't really work that hard to keep him is outrageous. It's disgraceful.
It's disgraceful. And it just goes to say, just because it's a great soundbite, it's a great tagline, Lion King, that's great, creative.
Yeah.
Great. Stupid. They should not have ever done that.
Nope.
But this is where I say they'll turn, because half of those fans, they're probably just going to read that article and just roll with it. They're not even going to do their investigation. They're going to see him, yeah, he's a liar. He said he'd never play for anybody else. And this is what we're willing to say now that
Did he
you're on
say
that
that,
side.
or did he say, I can't see myself playing for another NBL club, which is different to saying, I will never play for anybody but Perth.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever made it definitive.
And you may be right. I'm just, going on what was said just in the community. But I don't think that, he has, I don't think anybody in Perth could be upset with that guy.
No.
Like it just, sometimes it's time to go. This is what I would say to all these viewers that are upset that Bryce has changed his position and went to a place that he feels better for him and his family. If you've been in the same job for since you were, last 30, 40 years, then you can have that right. But if any point you've changed job to better yourself or your family, shut the fuck up. Bottom line.
And we'll be stamping the R on this particular episode.
Shut up.
The other big news is the Tasmania Jack Jumpers have moved on from Jordan Crawford, their championship import, and played with them for a couple of years. They've moved on to David Johnson, who's a guard playing in the G League. Obviously, they're seeing that as an upgrade.
I think Jordan Crawford, just a little bit last year, got found out. I mean, he had a great season. He came back, but seeing him a second time around, I think coaches knew how to attack him a little bit better. And I think that's probably a good move to bring in someone new, fresh, and maybe a little bigger. They did sign Ben Air. Couldn't play Ben Air and Crawford at the same time. So maybe this is an opportunity for them to upgrade their guard. I don't know. What size is he? Is he a bigger guard?
Yeah, he's much bigger. Okay. Yeah. One final thing on Bryce Cotton is I heard someone say, he's 33. We've seen his best. He's just coming off the best season of his 9. I don't know what he's got to offer yet. There's plenty.
I think he has plenty to offer, even if he comes back down and averages, 5 points less than what he has. So he doesn't have a 50-point game. He has a 45-point game.
Yeah, 59. He was unbelievable this season, considering the rumours, and I know you've already sort of made a motion to dispel them, but the rumours that he and John Riley as the coach weren't really on the same page all the time.
Yeah, I've heard from 2 people in that organization that's just not true. Said it, they had their normal coach-player type relationship going on, where you have to push and drive a player. There's always, this is where fans doesn't get it, and I think a lot of the players doesn't get it even nowadays, is in order for coaches to make you better, we have to push you to uncomfortable states. And in those uncomfortable states, you're questioning, why is he pushing me there? Why is this? I don't like feeling uncomfortable, because no one does.
No.
But that's when you get better. So I think John and Bryce had that type of relationship. Bryce had his best season in the league under John Riley.
Yeah. It's a normal player-coach relationship.
Yeah, normal
where
player-coach
even your wife tweets something negative about the coach. That's normal.
That's normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to some viewers' topics. We've got Bill Kelton from Victor Harbour High School says, "Hi, Boti and Joe. Enjoy the shows. Thank you very much. A question regarding your latest podcast in regards to visiting EuroLeague teams later this year. I was interested to hear Joey say these games may expose the NBL, and I have to agree. He regularly spends time in Moscow watching CSKA Moscow play midweek in the Russian NBL. The games look to be of a higher standard than our competition. So the point he's getting to is, has an NBL team ever played against a EuroLeague team and won?"
I don't think they won, but they played some. That jacket you
this,
got on?
This very jacket is from the 36ers representing the NBL at the 1999 McDonald's World Cup.
How'd that turn out?
They lost to the team from South America, and then they beat someone else.
Oh, we got buddy. We finally got him. George, you see, he doesn't know everything. He doesn't know everything, George.
George, we're recording early in the morning. I'm having a blank. No, the other team they beat was from the Middle East.
So it wasn't a true...
Yeah.
Oh, was it
so
Tel Aviv?
I can't remember who it was, but David Stiff, who was playing for the 36ers at the time, had played for that club. And it was the Lithuanian team that was representing the EuroLeague, and also they had the local Italian team in the comp for the benefit of Italian viewers, because it was in Milan, in Italy. So it's starting to come back to me. It's starting to filter back in, Joey. But no, so not to my knowledge, I have no memory.
Who was it?
Stiff played for Petronas.
Yeah, okay.
Who's that?
I don't know.
Petronas.
He played for a few teams.
Yeah, he played for
Petronas,
a few teams over there.
Petronas is in Malaysia, I think.
Malaysian Basketball League. That's the only one that's listed in this wiki.
He definitely played in something else, and the Malaysian league is awful. So
yeah, he would have dominated that. Yeah. That would have just been.
I can play in that now.
I reckon I could get it. I really do. I just stay down one end.
That's what our egos do to us. That's what our egos do.
All right, and finally, and where do we really rate the NBL in terms of quality compared to the rest of the world? Where you know how they keep coming out with a win number 2, which is a load of number 2.
It's hard to say where the league fits in at. When I went to Europe recently and went to Serbia, I was surprised that the first 5 to 6 was fairly comparable to our first 5 and 6. Mm-hmm. They were probably the size maybe a little bigger from the 3 to the 5 spot than here, but the 1s and 2s, same basketball. Our point guards and our 2 guards look just like their point guards and 2 guards there. It just, when we got to the 3, 4, 5 spots, they're a little bigger, a little more athletic. Yeah. But overall, the first 5 didn't look too much different. A team traveling out here from Europe to play out here with our refs.
Under our conditions.
Yeah, under our conditions. I would think it's going to be, that's 10 or 15 points right there. So I think it'll be fairly competitive. I do think the European teams may win.
Okay, but now in terms of a league, so we've got the NBA number 1, and then EuroLeague number 2, and then I think Spain, you've got Russia, you've got the Euro Cup, you've got that other league that's played in Europe. I think I would put us between 6 and 10 as a league.
I would definitely put somewhere between 6 and 10. I wouldn't put it much higher than that. I wouldn't count Russia, but Turkey's got a real strong league that's pretty tough. And even some of the Japanese teams are starting to get better.
All right, let's move on to Tyronibus Maximus. Guys, I've always thought a Champions League would do well in basketball, where the winners of each league play for the Champions League Cup. Could it work? Games will be played in major cities like New York, Melbourne, Sydney, Tokyo, Shanghai.
Oh, eventually will be.
You think?
David Stern investigated the whole deal with the Concorde back in the day and getting teams over to London and play. It has definitely been investigating. As the world gets smaller and smaller and the NBA reaches into more areas, it'll be a day. And flight won't be as tough as it is now. So it'll be a day when it's a global basketball league.
When this sort of thing will come back, because that's what that was. The McDonald's World Club Championship was each continent was represented at that time. So this would be something a bit, the next extension of that.
Yeah.
Really.
I think the NBA is really, really investigating and starting to put, their whole global movement to get people from overseas and get players to play in the NBA was the first phase of that. And now not only are they in the NBA, they're dominating the NBA. So they're representing their countries well and saying we got good players outside the United States. So you will see a day when it's a global league. We might not be around. We probably won't be around.
Okay. Vanessa says the Kings announced that they are targeting a big import, but if I'm not mistaken, they already have 11 rostered players: Kendrick Davis, Matthew Dellavedova, Sean Bruce, Tyler Robertson, Bull Quoll, Jalen Galloway, Makuach Maluach, Kuat Noy, Xavier Cooks, Jason Spurgeon, Kelly Luepi. Who's getting cut?
Oh, somebody.
And that's why you tune in for insightful stuff. Insightful information like that.
I have no idea. I would have no clue.
Sorry, Vanessa.
Sorry, Vanessa. You're going to have to wait on this one. We got to wait and see.
Okay. Ballaholics, back to Joey, in your coaching career, who was the opposition coach that you knew you couldn't have one slip up against if you wanted to win?
Gorge. Brian Gorgon for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, Gorgon, if I had to pick one, it'd be Brian Gorgon. Brian did a really good job of crossing T's and dotting I's before the game, so everything was always prepared and ready to go during the game. But if you came out and countered something, he was ready. He was ready. Dean Vickerman later in the years I thought got really good, but guys that they wouldn't appreciate, like Paul Hanari, and Dennis and Sean Dennis.
Sean Dennis, yeah.
Those two probably in games where I went, oh my God, they're actually doing this. I was actually during the game looking at some of the things these guys do or did in Paul Hanari and Sean Dennis. I thought were just excellent and threw me for a loop during the game. I realized it during the game.
Yep.
So they did some great stuff.
Okay. When an NBL import is advertised as having NBA experience, is that misleading? Yeah, because you can have 30 NBA games experience, but you're the 15th man on the roster, only played in garbage time.
It is no scrubs in the NBA. Not one. Not one. These people kill me with this. Every single one of those guys, whether you're sitting on the bench, holding a towel or not, go back to college. Go back to high school. They're legends at both of those two places.
Yeah.
So they can not even play again in basketball, history and still be considered great players. The fact that they've actually played in the NBA is even better. It is no scrubs.
Bryce is a great example of what you just said.
Great example. Y'all love Bryce, right? He was cut by the NBA.
Yeah.
He wasn't good enough for the NBA. Come on.
All right, here's a good one. Is there an NBL player that, for the life of you, you can't work out how they had a gig in the NBL for as long as they did?
I would say Tarangi. Yeah, I don't know how he's played as long as he has. He seemed like he slipped right under the radar and has been a fifth or sixth man for forever. Never had a breakout, one breakout season when he had the sixth man of the year and newcomer of the year.
Yeah, or most improved or something.
Most improved, yes.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you can identify that one season, then it's not a very good career. Because with the great players, if I asked you about a great player, you go, oh yeah, he was great in that game, that game. You can't pinpoint it, but you can say he had 1 year.
Yeah. So who would you think?
Well, there was Cam Glidden, great three-point shooter, great flopper. Great defender. He had an extended career in a number of places. When the three-point shot had deserted him, as it finally had, he was still playing. He was still getting a contract.
Yeah, he did. I think everybody kept waiting to see that Cam Glidden that they saw that 1 year and then just never did.
Yep. All right, we're moving to the NBA. That's it with viewers' topics. Don't forget, you should subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and send us your topics, your questions, your criticisms, your observations, whatever. We're always happy to read them. Okay, NBA. We've got Indiana up 2-1 on New York, playing Game 4 as we speak. We've got Johnny Furphy running around with the Pacers, And I forgot, Ariel Huck-Porty is in the New York Knicks roster.
I did see him on the bench the other day. I always thought he'd be, in the NBA, and I think he'll, grow to be a good NBA player. But yeah.
Well, we don't know what's happening with Game 4 because we're recording as it happens. But Indiana just seems to have the edge in this at the moment.
Yeah, if you look at all the teams that are left, Indiana looks like the best team. Not necessarily the most talent, but they look like the best team. I think we'll see an OKC Indiana finals, and I think Indiana's going to win it.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in Minnesota. It's like they're just not showing up.
Well, anytime you rely on Anthony Edwards' erratic shooting to be, he led the NBA in three-point shooting, but if he's not hot, then they look terrible. And the other day he wasn't hot, and they look terrible. You gotta have something else to go to. Indiana, they attack you at all different spots. It makes it very hard.
Okay, and Joe Ingles playing for Minnesota when he gets on the floor. Are you seeing this as the end of his NBA career?
Yeah, if he gets another year, then great. Milk it for what you can. But if he bows out right now, he's had a great career. He's done some amazing things in basketball. He can come back here and do whatever he wants now.
Yeah, play for Perth, perhaps.
Play for Perth. I'd be interested to see if he wants to play again after the NBA, because it's going to be, people can come at him.
Yes.
A lot of people are going to be, I want to prove that I can go at talent. So I'd say shut it down and go enjoy yourself. Spend your money, Joe.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment with Coach's Corner.
I spent my career coaching at the highest level and built Shoot HQ Adelaide to bring that experience to the next generation. This is where real development happens, real structure, and real results. Come see it for yourself and start building your game the right way.
All right, we're back with Coach's Corner. Joey, the topic is nepotism in Australian sport, which you brought up. I'm interested to hear what you got to say.
I'm going to be more particular about nepotism in basketball, just because I don't know the other sports that well. But in nepotism, basketball has to speak for itself. I coached my daughter at one time. I think not only was I kept to the playing field level, I actually pushed her probably too hard. And had her adhere to rules and regulations that the other players on the team didn't. So I don't think that's necessarily a good thing either. For that reason, for the people like me, we're going to usually push them harder than they should be. But we have to let basketball speak for itself. We're doing nobody favors by putting them in positions that they can't be successful on. I see this for two reasons. One, a lot of coaches do it because they think they're helping the player. They'll go, okay, I'll put them in position and tell them they're great and put them in position and give them playing time that's undeserving because it's my mate's friend or I went to school with their mom or whatever. You're only hurting the person. You're only hurting the kid. You're hurting the kid tremendously because they realize they're not up to it or capable. For the one player that you create that goes on to do great things, you destroy 10. All right, and you confuse the whole mechanics of basketball. Let's just play the best player. Just play the best player and let the rest fall in line. The other reason why coaches do that is because it's easier for them. I'll play this. This is my mate's daughter. And I'm over his house 3 days a week. I know her. She's never going to give me a hard time. She's never going to speak back to me. She's never going to say a word to me. Or I know who she is, so it's easier to coach. I don't know this person's language, or they look different, they feel different. I don't know their culture, so I'd just rather stay away from that. I just think in Australian basketball, the only thing I see that destroys it repeatedly is that nepotism. Once again, I always say this, sport is just a microcosm of what's going on out there, right? You guys are the most loyal humans in the world. I've never seen more loyal people than Australians. You guys will stick with a friend no matter what. That friend go slap a baby, you're going to stand right there and slap that baby too. And that same thing persists in basketball as well. All right, you guys got to put the sport first, not your friendships, not what's easier, not what's more familiar, and just coach the game the way you see the game and not see around it. It really destroys me. I see it repeatedly.
All right, so we're cancelling your membership of the baby slapping club now. Jeez. All right. Okay, that's it for us this week. be back again probably next week or maybe certainly within the next fortnight.